Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest narration of the web series There Is No Epic Lucha, Only Puns. If you're new to the series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 193, Tall Tales.
How reliable is this info?
A twitchy man asked as he sweated. The duck before them walked off with a small bag of sheathed knives, accepting their tribute.
Not super reliable,
The smaller man admitted, as he fiddled with a stone pedestal on the small island in the lake, connecting only by the thinnest of paths back to the shore. The first man looked at him with a grimace.
Don't tell me you went to Grimm's Tales of Woe,
he begged, and the smaller man continued to work on the mechanism, switching the ring from noon sun to dusk. The fake sun in the sky began to sink as the sky turned hues of orange and purples. The dusk settled in. One of their groups pulled on the rented fishing rods, bringing up a floppy disk that turned out to be just a decorated silver sock with glued-on eyes. The member chucked it back with disgust, and it seemed to vanish rather than sink.
The guild got it from the group that reached the second floor, the Howls of Eastar or something. I could only afford some of the puzzle hints.
The man worked the pedestal, continued to speak as the rest of them fished. And that was what? Play with unknown dungeon mechanisms and fish in uncharted waters? The first man grunted.
No,
the smaller one said stiffly.
It said that the path unseen to the second floor can be accessed by either a flash of gold or a dish of silver.
He said, and there was a pause as the entire group stared at him.
And there's a device here to make a full moon appear. So we're uncovering both potentials. A golden fish or a full moon could let us skip that cheating first floor boss. It expects perfect teamwork or risking it all to pass, and I think we're smarter than that,
the man said as he finally slid the symbols to a full moon image, and a beautiful scene of stars poured across the ceiling in streaks of color. It's breathtaking, someone said, as a massive round moon shimmered into view and reflected on the lake's surface. Someone reeled in another fish, and the horrible stench filled the air as the energetic crimson fish hung off the end of the blunted hook.
Gods, toss it back,
someone wept, and the moment the fish went underwater, the smell vanished.
This place has some unique fish,
the tall man, the leader of the little group, muttered. The lake surface shifted as a single large ripple spread across the lake. The leader was distracted as another group seemed to be heading down their way. It was the scouts, searching for another path, and by the way they were arguing about the demon mouse, it seemed that they hadn't discovered anything. That wasn't good. No other adventuring group or fair play folks had mentioned this in any of the bars or shared spaces, but there was a drumming in the walls, a deep primal thundering of distant drums that never stopped. The leader had hoped they would find out where it was coming from. The room suddenly darkened, and they all stared up as the moon seemed to vanish at both ends by the shadows of a massive maw.
What in the abyss?
Someone said as the lake suddenly heaved as something rose up. The scouts rounded the corner and entered the lake room as a full moon reappeared from behind the dark cloud. They came to a dead stop and stared as instead of seeing their party making progress and discovering the secrets of the dungeon, there was only a single abandoned fishing rod rattling to a stop on the island in the middle of the lake. No one from the main group could be seen. It wasn't until they left the dungeon, stopping to look for their names on that creepy memorial wall on that way out, they returned to town and were drinking at the bar when their missing group members showed up a few hours later. Two of them looked feral with skull helmets, and their smart guy was decked out with a feathered coat and craving food of other guests in the bar. That was when the tale began to spread. If you conjure the full moon on a still lake, a gateway to the underworld will appear. Enter the fleshy fields of combat and choose angels or demons. Play in their war to earn passage, fail and be washed away. Thus is the tale of the King of the Skies and the Emperor of the Shadows. Fishing rods can be rented from Grimm's Tales and Woe's Guildhall for a reasonable price, bait sold separately. It's coming, someone cried as the moon began to vanish and the massive catfish arose, its mouth glowing from the swallowing moonlight. It looked smooth-skinned rather than scaled with two long dragon-like whiskers coming off its face with deep, unfathomable eyes. Staghorns, charge! Their leader cried, and they all leapt as one into the massive catfish's maw while sending up prayers. In another mirror for all one,
We've been fishing here for 3 hours. Where is this damn fish?
A woman scowled as she held up a massive spear under the full moon. All the group had caught was a silver sleek fish, and now a flapping golden fish. It was rumored that not every instance activates at the same mechanics. It's like the dungeon wants to be unpredictable, one of her men muttered, as he held a silver and gold fish close together, with a baffled expression. Captain, these fish, he said, and she shot him a sharp look, knowing he must have noticed something. They have the shape of keys in their bodies, he said, holding them up so they reflected the moonlight. The moment he did, the two fish began to glow. Their shape shifted, and the middle of the lake, beyond the island, began to swirl with a whirlpool, pushing water aside as it laid the lake bed exposed to the moonlight. In the sand, surrounded by rocks and plants, was a tunnel rapidly emptying of water that soon began to emit the scent of flowers, followed by the sounds of a waterfall. We discovered another path, someone cried, as they raced over and began to set up a rope to lower themselves into the tunnel. Time to see if it tries to flood and kill us, the woman muttered as she followed her group. On days when the great fish slumbers, two stars come out to play. A silver and gold fish that dance like moonlight. Catching them is a feat of patience and pride. It is also a secret. The lake can offer many paths. The question is, do you have the keys? Grim Guild sells rope and sensible shoes for traversing rocky tunnels, sold as a bundle with fishing rods for a fair price. If a fisher can bring back a key as a loot drop, Grimm's Guild will nail it to a plaque with your name on it for free. Nah, I feel stupid, a bald-headed woman sighed as the other two in her group listened to the regal-looking mushroom man instruct them on how to weave their pots together, with dreams and honor. Less talking and more passion, her comrade chided as he made a lovely flower pot. Soon all three of them had basic but usable pots. They were nice, and maybe she would send it back to her mother back home. Her mum enjoyed fresh flowers and pots. The friendly mushroom walked off, and the woman sighed, using her new pot to collect water from the lake to boil. She blinked as a splash of gold leapt into her pot with almost celebration, and swam happily in the water with its key-shaped marker clear on its side. Quickly, the group tried to use their other pots to lure the silverfish, but it seemed uninterested in their vase-like pots. The bald woman quickly got to work and made something that could have been an earthen basin, or a massive pan made out of mud and water, using the techniques from the regal mushroom. The silverfish had drawn to the pan like a fish to a frying pan. The tale of the lake grew. The wise mushroom man could teach people to make alluring arts. The woman really did end up sending a vase back home. She crudely carved a key inside a heart on it. The meaning was lost on her mother, but was still dearly beloved by the woman. A tankard of ale slammed down as the goblin boss and a bear of a man tried to outdrink each other in the goblin bar. It was quickly becoming a hangout spot for the more experienced adventurers who could handle the constant pressure of the floor's manor. It turned out that if you just asked to go to the bar, the dungeon didn't take them off into groups and sent an escort. If I win, you will need to come back and give me a proper challenge. But what do you want? Bran slurred as Bacon let out a noxious fart that the bartender fanned away grumpily. Your helmet, another one of the men said quickly, sticking to soda. Bran seemed amused and accepted, but despite his strength, his power to hold his drink was not actually that great. The helmet was won, and the adventurers returned the next day to beat Fran, barely, and moved through to the second floor, where they found the keys needed to reach the point where very few adventurers ever passed. The second-floor bathroom was filled with the mist, and just as the shadow of the tree of pain formed, they held up Fran's helmet in offering. Even after a day, Fran's musky scent was still coming off of it, indicating that it was given, not dropped as a loot item. Is that, the tree woman said slowly, the helmet of Sir Fran, earned in a friendly match, the leader said, and the tree swooped down, all smiles and dimples. And you would give me this treasure, she purred. We would even regale you with the tale of our battle, how Sir Fran charged into the arena like a hero, and what he said, the slimmer boy said, adding to the deal. The tree took the helmet and let out a sound like a demonic chortle. Tell me of the rippling muscles of my knight. Spare no details. I want to hear about every drop of sweat, every time he broke your bones and crushed your dreams. Then you may pass, she ordered, and hugged the helmet to her chest. Thus the tale spread. On the second floor, a demon of pain and cruelty can be harrowing to fight, but like all curses, the tale of true love can break it. Bring this tree an offering of the night upon his mighty swine, and you may have a chance to pass her wicked thorns. Be warned, that if your tale does not contain copious amounts of flexing, you may lack content to pass. Grimskild sells artist renditions of Cern Fran along with actual mugs he's strung from. This costs a fortune to buy. These increase your chance of not getting splinters in unsightly places. Bed-length cushions for the body are in development.
We're ready,
the members of the healer-only group cried as they charged into the third-floor boss room with their staves raised. As a group, they were treated like a joke since they struggled to clear dungeons, but this dungeon was allowing them to fulfill their dreams of a healer-only run. The Heelys had challenged Fran, finding him hard but not crushing. Why am the demon of pain just choked in laughter until she passed out, which they took as a win. They did cast healing magic on her in case she had hurt her throat before they left. We are prepared to lose, but we'll avoid it as best we can, Daffodil Blue said as she was backed up by Starchild, Warm Duvet, and their newest member, Skullcracker. They were still working on the Orc's healer name. It was like a fun healer name to take the burden of people screaming for them to do their jobs and heal them from their thoroughly avoidable damage. The massive throne room was empty except for a small bubbling creature moving across the floor under a skull. They gathered around it, and the little guy bubbled up at them with a wave of a tendril made from its body.
Ah, you're adorable. Here, I brought a magic talisman to help strangers,
Daffodil Blue said, and put a sticker of Happy Cat with words perfect under it on the forehead of the little guy. I now crush your skull. I salute your warrior passion, and will be king of this realm. Skullcrusher raged, then settled down.
That's the spell. Inspiring word,
someone praised, and all the Heelys applauded for Skullcrusher, who looked shyly down at their feet. Isn't that a bad thing? Starchild wondered.
It heals emotions.
We can claim it, someone else argued. At their feet, the little slime glowed and put a coin in each of their pockets without their notice. On the third floor, people seemed to keep being defeated by different things. The tale is hard to pin down, as it could be harmless slime or a dragon of eldritch nightmares. So far, only healers have had any chance, and we've now seen an uptick of class changes. The healthcare system is booming. Grimskild does not offer insurance for adventurers, and that a lot of you are risky and idiotic. If the owner wished to throw his money away, he would at least throw his coins at people he didn't like. The inside of the Beast of the Lake was a mess of wrecks and ruin. The fearful bird with a weird crown screamed at the two adventurers as the smaller demure seagull spoke in common.
The king would be willing to allow you to keep your eyes if you serve in the war of ours. Your rewards will be grand,
the little black seagull said wisely. The two adventurers shared a look. Like, what kind of treasure? One asked. The king gestured to a plate covered in half-chewed chicken bones. Another reward was a heap of ruined plants. The rewards went on in this vein with food, a massive nest, broken eggshells, blood-covered weapons of those who had decided to attack rather than serve, and a dozen leftover boots.
The heavenly treasure of our kind,
the seagull proclaimed. What about those? The adventurer pointed to a pile of gleaming gems and jeweled and crushed vases. You want those? The translator spoke for the king, conveying his weirded out tone. Yes, they said eagerly. King Trash Lover stared at his hairless primates, danced and hoarded the shiny rocks that would do nothing for them. Not protective feathers, or food that could heal wounds, or boots that could increase their speed. The king waved one wing. A strange people would have their shiny rocks. They would serve for their pretty pebbles. Down in the depths, the two other adventurers, who had been separated in the transition from the lake room, sat around a blue bonfire as his hidden base moved with dozens of armored formations. You are anointed. Your soft skins and thumbs are gifts of the goddess. You arrived here by great providence. A pale white isopod spoke for the menacing emperor above. We paint you in sludge on the ground. We mark you with the rust of the vessels, and we grant you the symbol of power. The little guy chittered as two large creatures placed a piece of pleon, a segment of their armor atop their head like crowns. You are now bottom feeders. You are now squiggly polies of the shadows. You are evolved, the translator cried, and the base was full with chittering. But, we get the chest of gold, right? One spoke. A box of metal that tastes bad. Yes, that is yours, the empress said, and was translated with amusement. After all, The two had rejected the sludge piles, the fetching seaweed togas, and the wretched armor of those who refused to serve, and the massive pile of boots that would only go on their right feet. With excitement, they were given their tasks and sent out to a central platform, where they stared in shock as their teammates emerged down the ramp covered in grease and feathers. The bird had jewels," one said embarrassed. The bugs have gold," the other side muttered. "Fight!" the translators cried and threw weapons on the platform. Confused, each adventurer picked up a pole with rounded ends that was made of a strange padded material. The bird warriors had white clubs and the isopods had black. "What are these going to— Ow!" one of them said, as the black club hit him in the chest and knocked him back a few feet. "That's for snoring all night," the attacker said with a grin. The smile was wiped off as he was hit in the face and landed on his rear. "I would hit you for some coin, friend, so a whole bunch of jewels. I could go all night," his teammate beamed. "I have no reason, I just like hitting people," the second isopod warrior cried and charged. The para-mercenaries and the sea golf warriors let out the cries of their people as the battle went under. This was only the first round. Next up was the obstacle course and then the seaweed ball race. Wyam stared at the haggard adventurers. "We laid offerings at your groves and humbly ask you to let us pass," they said, and Wyam reached out, finding a little bit of desperation and belief in her new groves. It was nice that she could only nod in surprise. "It begs belief that you actually found them all," she said in utter surprise. "Will you be soft?" a man asked, looking hopeful if a bit delirious. "Does your mini-map look like 100 hours of pointless markers?" she asked huffily, not even sure why Delta's memories made that image pop up. "No?" someone said. "Then scram before I change the genre to Sholzburn," she warned, and the group rushed past in panic. "She was cute," Wyam heard one of them mutter. "You're courting death if you go after her," was the response. Now that made her heart flutter. The tale spread. End of chapter. I would just quickly like to thank the T5 peeps: Dragon Soup, Cold War Boomerwaffen, Severin Cerberus, Red Panda 121, Leslie 517, Bushmaster 177, Caspar Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Sans the Skeleton, Light Jock, Dragzoon WRE, and Lord Asrigal. Thank you very much.